Thanks for coming over this Amadeus, and today's Dungeon Hunter Champion video is going to be about the new free-to-play 5-star champion that everybody should be pretty happy about having in their box right now, and that is Tenebria, the Dark Dreadblade. Now, I know, there's a lot of opinions about how subpar Tenebria is, and I'll be honest, like, I pushed a lot of those opinions myself because I'm really disappointed in her damage production in comparison to like Rhoda and Rona and Aelia, because I mean, frankly, she looks like a Blade Master, but I've been playing with her a lot. I rebuilt her a little bit. I kind of tweaked her, and I really started testing her out in a lot of different raids, and I'll be honest, she does deal above average DPS. Rhoda, I mean, she does really good DPS. And she's also free to play, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to touch base on her today, because like from a tier list, maybe she's like an A- or an A, right? And I don't like to tier list champions because I think the value for them really comes out when they're actually in a team, right? Because I think that team synergies actually brings them together. But I wanted to talk about her because I've been using her a lot to build different teams, and I'll show you what I mean after we go through the gear. So if you've watched before, maybe this is somewhat familiar to you. I built her on Mortal Keen. I still need to get way more crit rate on her to make her more consistent, but it's really crit rate and accuracy is what I'm looking for in the substats. Everything else is going to kind of be everything else is going to be a bonus, right? So as you can see, it's like just crit rate accuracy. She's on attack, crit damage, attack, and that's pretty much it. I mean, she's pretty straightforward. Her skills apply weakness, and then if she applies weakness, she gets strength. She disorients, she slows. She removes a buff, normal or legendary, from herself, and if she does that, she gains haste. And then she deals damage based on the enemy's missing HP in her last skill. Now, the reason, I mean, there's also this nonsense, 41% accuracy. I'm not sure about all that. But one of the things I want to talk about is with the events that are going on, she is 100% fully skillable for everybody. So she's a 5-star, fully skillable fighter class champion, which means she's going to be pretty sturdy, right? She's more of a bruiser build out of the box. Its fighters are usually a little bit more sturdy as far as HP and defense goes. Her attack and her attack speed, I would definitely recommend a buff if that was the case. And I understand keeping with that consistency stand piece of making her sturdier to make her ascend into resistance. But I still think that's a bad call. That should definitely be ascended into crit rate. Because that's how you're going to build her to make her useful. You can't build her as a support because she doesn't do enough for the other champions on the team. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So let's go and take her into Steel Widow 10, and we're going to show off two things. We're going to show off why she's so beneficial for free-to-play teams. So if you look, this is a 100% free-to-play team, right? You got double DPS in the form of Tenebria and Rona. Rona. So the Water Crow Hag is your primary DPS unit and stripper, right? Your buff blocks are going to come from the Water Magica Girl and Manus. Shields and the attack power down are going to come from the Light Archangel, and the weakness and disorient are going to come from Tenebria. So she can jump right in there, and she's going to hold her own, and this is not a bad team, right? But the thing that's really interesting about this team is that it's 100% free to play, and Tenebria plays a pretty important role on this team from the standpoint of she really is contributing. Like I said, she definitely could use a buff, right? All of the Dreadblades, I think, could use a buff for exactly what I said. Like, they don't benefit everybody on the team enough to have the stats that they have, right? So just being a sturdy unit that does some DPS on a team typically isn't enough. But if you haven't been fortunate enough to pull Aelia or to pull a Deathmonger or a Gun Mage or something like that, she's 100% free to play, fully skillable champion that does above average DPS and can function on a lot of teams. Plus, one of the big things is she's element neutral, right? So look at her sturdiness right here. See, like, that's one thing that I really do appreciate about the fighter classes, is that they're very sturdy. But what I would say is, like, I've really kind of been bagging on Tenebria, and I'm not sure that I should have been, because when I look at using her on a team, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to build this champion. She's going to give me like a minute and 15 Steel Widow 10 team, but then I'm going to replace her when I get up to Steel Widow 10 or Steel Widow 11. Except, if you look at the team we have right now, let's get through this. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. This time here. Or not the time, but the damage output. See, Rona is clearly the damage, the primary damage dealer, and then you have Tenebria coming in second. But what I would say is like, if you think about, if we go to the next raid, I can leave Tenebria in here, right? What I have to do is I have to replace the other units, right? So I'm going to replace Manus with Vimal. I'm going to go ahead and replace Water Magic Girl, or I'm sorry, I'm going to replace Rona with Wink. I'm going to replace Water Magic Girl with Hoshi, right? And then I'm going to run in here and tear this apart. Now I could easily switch, because I do have two other nature elements on this team. I could switch Rhoda in here, right? Rhoda be another great champion to have as leader instead of Vimal. But we talked about Vimal, and a couple of people wanted to see him in action again, so we brought him out of the box, and we want to use him a little bit. But what I really want to focus on is Tenebria. So as you can see, like, there were champions that we all know are great: Rona, Manus, Water Magic Girl, that we are going to replace for a better team in Steel Widow 11, right? And the unit I didn't have to change, that I'm still getting benefit from having invested in, is Tenebria. And I thought that was like kind of like a smart call out, because if you use her in Ultimate Blitz, I did use her in Ultimate Blitz normal, epic, and legendary. Like I know I switched her out for like the last 3 or 4 levels of legendary. But I mean, I used her basically all the way through with Savage, and it was great because you put Savage, Light Archangel, Tenebria, Violet, and Dr. Soma, or no, Manus. It is just a very element friendly team, with Manus being the only one that has an element in there to be taken advantage of. But let's look at this. So see, she, like, you've invested in her, you've built her up, you put good gear on her, and she is a support champion. She's still basically coming in. She's doing that secondary DPS standpoint. The team, from a free to play standpoint, right? Because if you look at the screen right now, it's totally free to play. The team is not super fast, right? But you're not losing any. I bet you we could speed that up. You're not losing any of the resources that you've invested in Tenebria. Now, is she a unit I would primarily build? Like I said before, like if you have other units like Gun Mage and Snipers and Alien, no, of course not. She's not. She's not on the same caliber as those. I mean, to get her to be a 5-star like that, I mean, definitely a buff. And I will tell you that I heard some people argue that because she's a free-to-play champion that she shouldn't get a buff. To which I would say, well, what about Rhoda, Rona, and the Light Archangel? Right? Like, the Dreadblade arguably is on the same playing field as those free-to-play units, so why wouldn't we all expect her to be better than she actually is? So, I don't think that that's a valid argument, but I'd love to hear in the comments below what you guys think about her, especially if you've built her differently and have built her in such a way that it's better for the overall community to build. Because remember, at this point, with all of the war support events and grinding and leveling and summoning events that we've had over the last 2 weeks, basically everybody who's been playing this game for a month should be able to have this free to play Nat 5 shards and able to summon. and a lot of them are just reaching out and asking, oh, should I build it? How should I build it? So I think it's a good conversation, but I just want to be realistic with everybody's opinion. She's like an A, right? But predominantly from a team synergy standpoint, she is going to fit on your team as a secondary DPS, whatever you would want that to be. So let me know in the comments below what you think. So as always, thanks for watching the videos. Have a great day. Bye.